Hello children, Krishna Ma'am here. Today I'm back again with a new chapter from your book Hornbill, and this is chapter 3. Name of the chapter is Discovering TUT, written by A.R. Williams. Children, this is a very interesting story. We cannot call it story, actually this is a real incident written by A.R. Williams. A.R. Williams, her name is Anne Williams, and she is a very well-known writer for National Geographic. Now let's come to the book. And I really recommend you to go through the Googles and search for this one. Search for the name TUT or Tutak, and you will come to know a lot of things about him. And I am really sure that you will enjoy reading, you'll enjoy knowing more about him. So now let us come to the book. In the very starting is the narration from the article written by A.R. Williams in the National Geographic long back. What has she written here? In the starting, she has written, the article is about the finding of when the excavation was made again. Why I'm saying again? Because this is the third time his tomb was excavated and the pharaoh was taken out of the tomb. And when the article was written, it was in January 2005. She has written that very first time when it was excavated in 1922. After that, it rested in peace without much of interference, and it was excavated again after 80 years. So first, let us come to the first part. I'm not going paragraph wise. Let us come to the third paragraph in the second page, in the middle of the page. In the middle of the page, when I'll start with the incident. When it was first taken out, when his tomb was first found out in 1922 by Howard Carter. Now, who was Howard Carter? He was a British archaeologist, and I think in the year 1920, he started excavating and looking for the tomb, and it took him almost 2 years to find out the place where the tomb was placed, and then along with his workers, they dug in until they found the tomb. And he was very surprised when he went inside, because most of the artifacts, it was in very, very good condition, and it has not been taken away, it has not been theft, it has not been stolen like they did in other tombs. Perhaps because this tomb was very small in size, so they could not find it out. So now let's come to the book. When he first excavated it in 1922, okay, Howard Carter, he found it out, and he was stunned. He was stunned to look at the artifacts in gold. Everything was in gold. And everything was in gold, and it was very brilliant. Everything was very magnificent. So so many of artifacts were buried along with TUT, because in older days in Egypt, especially for the pharaohs, they believed. Now, what is pharaoh? Pharaoh. I'll come to the word meaning first. Let's come to the difficult words first. Okay. Saga. Saga means a long tale. This is a long tale because the incident still continues. The story has not finished. When you search into the Google, Till today, you will find something new. Something new, some new discovery will be found almost every year. Pharaoh. Pharaoh is the word used for Egyptian king. Olden is forensic reconstruction, that is to construct a look-alike face after CT scan. And this is due to the modern technology. When very first time it had been excavated when he discovered the tomb. That time, those days, science was not very modernized. So he could not do the X-ray, he couldn't do the CT scan, nothing could be done because no technology was there back in 1922. But later with the modernization of science, with the modernization of the technology, all these things came up. So, very last time, they did the forensic reconstruction of the mummy. Okay, now what is scudded across? That is the line. When you come inside the text, you will find this line scudded across. Okay, so where is it? Dark bellied cloud scudded across the desert sky. Okay, so it was about the atmosphere when the tomb was taken out for CT scan. So the writer E.R. Williams, she used the word scudded across, means dark cloud. It overclouded over the sky. Over the sky it was dark cloud around. Okay, now was the next word, casket gray. Casket gray, here they have used it for dark cloud covering the stars because it was almost 6 o'clock in the January. And in that part of Egypt, mornings are very hot, but evenings, along with the sunset, the temperature cools down and the night becomes cold and dark. So it was getting dark and the stars has come up in the sky. But as the tomb was taken out of CT scan, that time a dark cloud covered the sky, covered the stars also. So they've used the word casket gray. Okay. Resurrection here means revive of life after death. While resurrection in the real meaning means when something has been forgotten and it is revived again. That is resurrection, but here in the text we have used it for life after death. Circumvented means dodge the guards. Here means it is on its third page. Okay. Thieves most certainly would have circumvented the guards. Means they would have dodged the guards to rape the mummy and take the ghouls out. Okay, so now let's come back to the text. First of all, it was discovered in 1922 by Howard Carter. He really had a hard time because that was the very first time when it was taken out of the tomb. Now let us see what did he face. How come he had a hard time there? Okay, he recorded the treasure for months and months. It took him months to record all the treasures, all the gold and all the things that was buried along with him. Everything was in gold. And he was buried in a 3 nested coffins. But it's 3 nested coffins. That was the very first coffin. And it was not a plain box-like coffin. It was in the shape of a human being, with head and with body shape and all that. So in the first layer, in the first coffin, that was made of pure gold. The baby pharaoh, he was laid over there, and over on it there was another coffin and there was a third layer of coffin. So total 3 layers of coffin were there. And when he found it out, he found that it was adorned with garlands of willow, olive leaves, celery, lotus petals, and cornflowers. So all those things were found in Egypt or in that part of the world in the month of March or April. So that shows that the baby pharaoh was buried, or he died sometimes in March or April. So he wanted to, when he opened the first layer of coffin, second layer of coffin, when he went to the third layer of coffin, he wanted to take the pharaoh, the mummy. We should use the word mummy now because he had been mummified already. So he wanted to take the mummy out of the coffin to study it and to take the jewels out so it could not be stolen away. So he wanted to take it out, but he could not because due to the resins which had been used to mummify the pharaoh, it had hardened like a cement, and it had hardened and it was cemented to the coffin, so he could not lift the mummy from there. So what did he do? He thought that I have to melt. He thought of melting the raisins. He had an idea that I will put it out in the open land, in the open sunshine, the scorching heat, and the temperature was around 149 degree Fahrenheit. That is equal to almost 65 degrees Celsius. You can just imagine how hot it must be. So he put the mummy there. He kept it for some time, thinking that the raisins would melt away and he could lift the mummy from there. But nothing happened. So he had no choice but to cut it out. So he decided that somehow he has to lift the mummy out from there. So he took the decision to chisel it out. Now, what is a chisel? It's a sort of small tool we use in the garden to dig something. So he took the chisel and he chiseled away from there, and he cut that mummy. He cut the major joints. First of all, he dissected the head from there, then all the major joints, he took it away. Then he lifted the mummy out and took all the precious things to store it. Now he had to reassemble it again. He had to reassemble it again and put it again in that coffin bag. So now that mummy of King Tut, it was there for almost 40 years, or to be exact, 46 years. And after 46 years, an anatomy professor, he took it out for an X-ray because the technology has modernized with time. So initially, in initial part, when they looked for the mummy, in olden days, the only objective was to find out how much treasure they had, how rich the mummy was, how rich the pharaoh was. But with the increasing technology, the thinking changed also. Now they wanted to find out the reason behind the death. Because children, when you come to study in the text, when you come to study more, you will come to know that King Tut or King Tutankhaten, Tutankhamun, he had many names. Okay. So when he died, he was only 19 years old. hardly 19 years old. So it was a matter of curiosity for everybody to find out the reason behind the death of such a small king. That's why it has been excavated again in 1968 to X-ray to find out something more. But an X-ray could not tell me anything. It cannot tell me anything. They simply found out that the rib cage was missing. It could be for any reason. It could be for any reason. Okay, so they kept it again back in the place, and again after a long time, after almost 40 years, not 40 exactly, because after 1968 it was again excavated in 2005, in the year 2005, and on the day of 5th January 2005, the time was 6 p.m. 6 p.m. The technology by that time had developed a lot. A CT scan and all those things had been introduced already. So now they decided. The troop was led. Okay, it was led by Professor Zahi Hawass of the anatomy department, and he decided that we should take the mummy for CT scan to find out the reason behind the death of such a small king. What happened? Because initially they could only guess that he must have been murdered out of jealousy or something, or maybe he has gone in the forest and some animals must have killed him. So it could be only guess. So until they find the real reason, until they find the truth, nothing more could be done except guessing and guessing. So in 2005, they took the mummy out, they prepared for CT scan, and that time the place was full of tourists, and that is the opening of the chapter. When they took it out for CT scan, how was the atmosphere? An angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place in the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of Kings. Okay, he was buried there. The place he was buried was known as the Valley of Kings because all the kings, or many kings, most of the kings of Egypt, that is pharaohs, they had been buried there. So that was a place almost designated for burying all pharaohs. So he had been taken from there, and when he was taken from there, the weather got angry. The weather got an angry wind stirred up. So why the weather was furious? Because there was a belief that once they interfere with the resting soul inside the coffin, inside the mummy, once they interfere with a mummy, they will curse you for that. You will be cursed upon. So for all the disturbance of the weather, of the surrounding, there was fear inside everybody that the mummy must have got angry, that while he was sleeping inside the coffin, while he was sleeping inside the tomb, it had been taken out. So the tourists were curious. At the same time, the tourists were afraid also. Because these things, the things which humans had no way to know, the thing of life after death, nobody knows that. So there's only a guess. So all of them, they were afraid of something mysterious. They were afraid of something being cursed upon them. But somehow they managed to take it to the CT scanner. And the CT scanner had been, it had been supported by the National Geographic National Geographic Society and the Siemens. Actually, the Siemens, it was a brand. It is a brand name, and it is a company which makes all the medical equipments for research and all that thing. So it was sponsored by, co-sponsored by, we should say, by National Geographic Society and Siemens Group. So they sponsored this very, very costly CT scan machine. It costed many $100 million. So it was taken there for the CT scan of the tomb. So finally it was scanned, and once his skull was put inside there, you must have seen, all of you must have seen the CT scan machine. So all of you know that the head part goes first. So he was laid down, and all the workers, they took him, and the head part went with his hand and the leg part. So one by one it went inside, but when the end part went, when the CT scan was done, something happened. It stopped. It stopped working. It didn't move at all. So all of them, they became afraid again. They were suspicious. Was it cursed? Or is it something else? So they looked for the reason, and what was it there? What was the reason? A small piece of sand was stuck in between. And the motor it went wrong. So somehow the fan went off. There was a small piece of sand stuck in the fan, and the fan was not working. Somehow they managed to find a spare one, and they replaced it, and they thought that the CT scan which was done, they were thinking whether the record had been erased, but somehow they were lucky that the record was still there. So later on, what did they probe? What did they find out? That there was nothing wrong. No murder was there means he was not murdered. There was no injury, there was nothing. And everything was intact. And the small injury, the small breakage might be at the time when Howard Carter took the mummy out from the tomb the very first time in 1922, when he cut into many fragments to take the mummy out of the tomb. That time, many parts were defected and destroyed. So, Professor Jahi Havas, he was happy. He was happy, and finally he felt relieved that there was nothing wrong with the mummy. He said, I was worried, but now I think I will go and sleep. Means he was relaxed now that in the finding there was nothing wrong with the mummy, and the mummy was put back into the tomb, and it was put back into its resting place. Now let's come to the family background of King Tut. Okay, the small pharaoh. He belonged to the 18th dynasty of Egyptian king, the ruling king, and possibly his grandfather, whose name was Amenhotep III. Okay, he ruled for almost 4 decades, almost 40 years, and that was the golden age for Egypt, because people were very happy and he ruled. He was a very powerful king, because children, if somebody can rule in a place for uninterrupted 40 years, means he must be very powerful, he must be very good ruler, and he must have done very good things to his people. That's why he ruled for so long. So he was there for more than 40 years, and that was golden period of Egypt. But after his demise, his son took over the throne, and he was Amenhotep IV. And children, when Amenhotep IV came to reign, that was the worst period Egypt would ever dream of. That was the worst period Egypt would ever have. So what did he do? The country almost suffered. The people of the country almost cried because Amenhotep IV, he was sort of wacky kind of king. Wacky means, in Hindi, you say sanki, means I'll do whatever I want to do without any reason. Okay. So, first of all, he did a very bad thing. That is, Egypt was known for its very, very ancient culture. But when he came to reign the country, first of all, he destroyed all the idols of God Amun. God Amun, that is the god of sun and air, who was the god worshipped at that time, worshipped when he came, or worshipped before that. So there were a lot of temples of God Amun and idols. So first of all, he destroyed everything. He destroyed everything, and he changed his capital. He changed his capital also. He changed the Thebes, and then he worshipped King 18. 18 means sun disk. So he smashed all the idols of King Amun and replaced him with God, not king, sorry, God, with 18. 18 is sun disk. He worshipped and reduced the worship of God 18. And not only that, he changed his name also. Initially his name was Amenhotep. Now he changed it to Akhetaten. That is, he took the word 18. Akhetaten means servant of Aten, servant of God Aten, or servant of God Sun. He moved his capital also, he destroyed everything, and the people of Egypt, his citizens, suffered. But one day he has to die. So his time came also. When he died, his son, that is TUT, he was very, very young. So some unknown person, somebody from his kingdom itself, somebody from his relative, nobody knows. His name was Smenkhakre. He was there, he ruled, he reigned, but he was there for a very, very short period. And he came unknown, he vanished unknown. Nobody knows anything about him except the fact that in between Akhetaten and Tutankhaten, he ruled for some time. Now, after Smenkhakre left, they crowned Tutankhaten, the small boy, small pharaoh. Once he has been crowned, he is pharaoh. So small pharaoh, he was hardly 10 years old, 9 or 10 years old, so he was crowned. He was crowned to rule the country. But children, you can just imagine, how can a boy of now 9 years old, nobody can be mature enough to rule the country. So people must have advised him how to do this, how to do that. But he was there on the throne, he reigned there, but one good thing he did, that he changed back. He replaced the old god, Amen, and he replaced it all. He reconstructed the temples and everything. He changed the capital. So whatever destruction his father has done, he worked on that. He worked to replace it back in the old ways. And he also changed his name, because the name given to him was Tutankhaten, that is 18. The word 18 was there. She was given by his father. So he changed the name of God Amun. So he changed his name to be Tutankhamun. That is the living image of God Amen. The living image of God Amen. So he ruled his country for almost 9 years, and one fine day, nobody knows how, he went to the demise, he expired. He was dead. He was dead, and he had no descendant, he has no son. He had 2 small unborn daughters, which is not mentioned in the book, but once you go into the history, you will learn a lot of things about King Tutankhamun. So he was buried there, and he was buried in a hurry. Perhaps because of that, his tomb was undiscovered and undestroyed for many, many years, because many tombs had been looted long back, but not his. That's why when the first time Howard Carter excavated the tomb out, he was just dazzled. He was dazzled to see so much of artifacts. Everything was in gold. Everything from his toys, from bat balls, from all things, from his furniture, his undergarments, everything was in gold. Because people in old times, in old Egypt, we should say, they believed in life after that, and they believed that once the person is buried, his soul will remain there. So all the edible things, milk and all those things for him, everything was there, everything was kept. So that is the story. And what happened at the end? At the end, it was the time of winter, so it was again put in the same place. His tomb was buried back again. And when everybody came, the night grew dark, and they were relieved. They were happy to see that the constellation known as the Osiris. Osiris is the god of afterlife, and that was shining just above the tomb of the small pharaoh. So according to them, that was a good omen for them. Means the God is watching over the boy, and if the star is shining, that means the God is smiling on you, it's guarding on you. So it was a good omen for them. They were happy that it was a happy ending. Happy ending in the sense that when the city scanned the reason for the death, the cities can't find out the reason, and the reason for death was not murder. They were relieved that the boy he did not die because of murder. And children, I really recommend you to go into the Google and read the story, because I'm very much sure that you will enjoy reading, because this is a reality. This is the reality of a real king who died at a very young age after ruling his kingdom. So till date, the search is going on, and they have found out many things also. So now I leave it to you. I have read it already. I have enjoyed the story. So now I'll give you homework. I leave it to you to explore more and more about King Tutankhamun, or in short they call King Tut, King Tut, whatever you call, because this is not our language. So children, have a very, very good time, and I hope you will enjoy with the homework of exploring more and more about King Tutankhamun of Egypt. Till then, have a very, very happy time. I'll come up again with a lovely poem for you tomorrow. Have a good day, children.